We're live. All right. Angler is live whenever you're ready. How the fuck does that happen? Mangler, for fuck's sake, you were fine like a moment ago. What is this?
No, you lagged there for a sec.
All right. Then I guess go ahead and start. What's going on? You remember how I said I was one fucking lagging? I want you guys to fucking remember that shit. I want you to remember in your heart of hearts, in your soul of souls, that motherfucker said I was lagging when he DCs.
You were lagging, but I should be better now.
All right.
You were lagging. I should be better now.
Speak then.
All right. Talking, speaking. You should be able to hear me clearly.
All right.
If it makes you feel any better, I saw that lag disconnection as well from the YouTube. And it's weird because my computer has fully functional Wi-Fi. Well, fully functional is a strong word. But
I was going to say you should calm down there a little bit. Fully functional. If you say so.
Anyway, you can go to the restroom now. I got this.
I already used the restroom, you slut. That's why I fucking... What?
Okay, well, then you get to join us for a glorious stream for once.
I'm going to have to kick your ass.
Who added me? Oh, it's me. So, hello everyone. This is the last protagonist swap scan overview we're doing for the Warhammer 40k Halo swaps between Space Marine and like the squad-based Halo games. Today, I'm just going to be showing a bunch of scans for the various claims I made. Some ones that you guys have probably not seen thus far. Mostly because they're all going to be about the Tyranids, the Nid boys.
Interesting.
Also known as the stuff of Zim's nightmares.
Yes, I still have flashbacks.
I believe I have about 13 sources here that I'm going to provide in the video scans chat. First one I wanted to talk about was just the various differences between the Tyranid bioforms in one of the codexes. So let me see if I can find this right here. So I believe they have... Oh, actually I have a bunch of the ones here between the Hive Tyrants and the Tyrant Guards. But in the game, we only really have like Tyranid Warriors, which are these main ones with a couple hooks and lower hands on their lower abdomen regions. The Raveners, which are basically subterranean, tunneling, snake-like Tyranids. The Hormigons, which are the main mass-bred Tyranid unit. They're about the size of like a dog-ish, and they just swarm you in like the millions. And then the Termagants, which are just Hormigons, but they have Glocks. And the Glocks basically like corrode portions of your body because they have like acid and stuff. We're not going to go over things like the Gene Stealers or anything like the Harpies. Just Lictors, Gargoyles, Zoranthropes, and then I think like Carnifexes, because they only put about like 7 or 8 units in the actual game. All of them do have strict differences. Lictors are basically meant as stealth units that have a camellia-line scale that is put on their body so that they can just cloak into various surfaces and walls. Gargoyles are their flight units, their main aerial units. That should be pretty self-explanatory. The Zoanthropes are the equivalent of the 40k Psychers for... what is it? The Tyranid hive mind. And then Carnifexes are effectively their tanks. The rest of them, I'm not going to go over because, again, they don't show up in the game. So, like, no biovores, pyrovores, none of, like, the toxic enemies or hive guards. I'm not going to go over, like, the hive tyrants or, like, the swarm lord. None of that matters because they're not there. And even in the event that they are there, they're not fighting the main people in the scenario, so they don't get to be included. They aren't worthy. Hmm.
The heck?
Yeah, so that's the first one. Any questions before we move on?
Nope. Continue.
Oh,
Listen. I have to make sure that like my audio check is good because she's listening to copyrighted music. So you just keep going. Don't worry about me.
okay. Um, next one, I was just going to provide a source for Tyranid warriors being able to fight Space Marines. So this one, I think, is on my main computer. Let me see if I can find. I opened a bunch of tabs for this one. Yes, this is the one here. So this is from the Warriors of Ultramar. This is just after Uriel Ventress is trying to defend like a specific position, and he just comes into contact with the Tyranid warrior, and it's just like flailing against him. He does manage to kill it by like I think like getting on top of it, counterbalancing his legs against it, and then shooting in the head with a bolter. But he does struggle against it. Because he does mention he can't defeat it. I think he's damaged in this scene, so to give credit where credit's due, like he can actually normally fight it, but it is a struggle for him to fight like one Tyranid warrior at a time. And I didn't know how I wanted to include that in the scenario because the Space Marines, while they are premise Marines, should be roughly comparable to standard Space Marines. They shouldn't be that much stronger on average. And since you fight so many Tyranid warriors, I just assumed the way that they actually battle them in the scenario of Space Marine 2 is that they just shoot their heads with bolter rounds. Because bolter rounds are way more like powerful than like the force of your standard Space Marine. They can penetrate heavier. They can move a lot faster, obviously, and they can penetrate heavier material as they can go directly through Astartes armor with ease. So they should be able to penetrate the skull of a Tyranid warrior, and consistently they do. Otherwise, like Space Marines would never be able to fight the Tyranids if their mass-produced weapons wouldn't work on them at all. No, so hello, Ezio. I didn't see you there, even though you were the only one down there. Yes. Then third source was just to show that the Tyranids are run by a greater hive mind. This one, you can kind of find this in like any Tyranid guide. This is the 5th edition for anyone who's wondering. Oh wait, no, this is for the Synapse creature. Hang on, let me grab the official 40k guidebook. So, as confirmed by the Shadow and the Warp description, all Tyranid creatures are leaked by a Gestalt psychic field called the Hive Mind. The psychic shatter caused by millions of organisms disrupts warp space, blocking astrotelepathy and other powers, earning the moniker the Shadow and the Warp. So this is essentially the Greater Hive Mind. This is something that it does in order to smother out psychers and people from like communicating, so that the Tyranids can like become the ultra predators for whatever solar system or area that they're in. As since they're smothering out the entire location, you cannot call for help or do anything to escape from them. There are other statements throughout the lore consistently. Like every Tyranid novel you have constantly talks about how the hive mind is a thing. There's greater examples of this, Warriors of Ultramar, but in general, whenever they talk about the Shadow of the Warp, they're talking about the hive mind because that's just the greater hive mind. What else? Oh yes, I had to provide a source to show that UNSC weapons could go through shields because I mentioned I referenced this scan once again. Give me a moment. Oh yeah. So this is just another example of the scan from First Strike, showcasing that. Oh wow, scanned it a little too high. Showcasing that weapons and UNSC weapons at the end of the war can basically go through, such as the Halo One combat pistol, can go through the elite shields in 3 shots. Actually, no, they go through them in 2 shots, and then the third shot will kill the elite if aimed at the head. This is just to show that UNSC weapons. Because I was trying to point out that UNSC weapons could actually hurt the Tyranids because they're strong enough to go through elite shields, and elite shields are reverse engineered from things like the Forerunners, so they're very, very, very powerful. They can also they're mainly meant to deflect physical like projectiles. So if you can penetrate something with raw force that is designed to stop raw force, that is a very, very strong weapon. Um, I already demonstrated in the earlier protagonist swap videos the differences between beginning of war pistols and end of war pistols, beginning of war assault rifles, and end of war assault rifles and submachine guns. And I demonstrated how, like, a couple rounds could allow them to penetrate a shield when previously they could dump like half to the entire magazine and it would barely drop the shield, if at all. So that's just to show that they'd be able to affect things like the Tyranids. Now, because most of the Tyranids don't have, like, strictly speaking, they don't have that much armor. And the armor that they do have isn't really armor, it's just like layered amounts of flesh. Like they have more pounds and pounds and pounds worth of flesh. So the best thing that they have going for them is just like, if you shoot them, they'll be able to weigh down the bullets with flesh, but eventually they'll start losing vital biomass, and then the life form will just die. But that would only be applicable for things like carnifexes and stuff. Like the bigger boys. Not the little ones. Oh, yes. What were you going to say?
Nothing. Just sounds like you got it off pretty easy in this with these Tyranids. These seem like weak Tyranids. Wish I had the same treatment when I was fighting them, but whatever. Go on.
Yeah. Well, also, I wanted to point out that the bullets presented from those guns are way better than even grenades. Because this is a scan that I showed in the previous protagonist swap scan summary, that grenades from the UNSC are shown to work on elite shields, but it takes them several grenades to penetrate them. This is from Halo Oblivion, I believe, where a bunch of castaways are basically throwing their grenades at they're just a bunch of kids of like rebels that were marooned on a planet. They throw a couple grenades at an elite, and both of them blow up on him point blank, and all they do is drop his shields. So he's able to withstand those shots, but then by the end of the series, a single, like 2 bullets from a pistol can do the same thing. Which means they either have the same penetrative power as an explosive grenade from the same faction 20 years earlier, or they just, I don't know, like, they just Duraneg, but I would assume they're not Duranegging because they're never told to have special properties. They're just more powerful weapons. So I think they can probably get through like a little itty bitty Tyranid. Probably some of the bigger ones too, especially since they're semi-armor piercing, like explosive rounds. And these are just for the pistols, which the pistols, I also I didn't make this claim, but this just kind of highlights an example of what I'm talking about. Is that the pistols, especially the M6 ones in Halo, are confirmed to be like not as powerful as most other weapons issued by the armed forces of the UNSC. So that whatever feats the pistols show, whatever impressive feats they show, they're actually below the level of the assault rifles and the battle rifles consistently, despite being explosive rounds. They are inferior to the battle rifle and the assault rifle.
Can the Death Guard resist the Flood Spores?
Depends on what version of the Death Guard. I'm gonna say for the current version, as in like, okay, I shouldn't say current version because I'm reading through the Horus Heresy, which is not current because it was 10,000 years prior to modern 40k. For the Horus Heresy versions, probably not, because they're just like normal, like, dudes. I mean, yes, they have like poison resistance and toxins and stuff, but like they can't resist that kind of assimilation. Granted, they are in sealed suits, so like the Flood would have to get past their Astartes armor and get into their armor to actually infect them. Because if you're wearing a protective suit, not like a Kim suit, but like an actual like vacuum pressured suit, it is much harder for the Flood to infect you because they have to get past all your armor in order to connect their hubs to your nervous system. But they still should be able to do it. As far as the Chaos Space Marine variants, I do not know because I do not know what their bodies are made out of. I've only seen like one example of them thus far, and that was from a guy that was that was from a Chaos Space Marine of the Death Guard that was already dead and was brought into reality as a he was given a body from a blood sacrifice. So he's not like a normal human. Whereas current Chaos Space Marines from Nurgle are actual living Space Marines that were corrupted, that had their bodies physically corrupted by Nurgle. That's not the same thing. That guy was summoned by a blood sacrifice, and he's been dead for quite some time. He's been dead for years. So his physical body isn't in that location. Nurgle's corrupted rot. What about Nurgle's corrupted rot? Also, hello, Pimp Demon.
Raw and toxins.
That's it. You just keep saying like things about Nurgle, and these don't help me understand what you're trying to say. What are your intentions? Okay, so I've gone over those sources. I guess I was going to point out the sixth one. This is the one that I think I mentioned to Zim, but he didn't actually get to see this. Hang on. So this is the one from Halo Infinite that just shows that like the UNSC Spirit of Fire has basically found a way to reverse engineer stuff from the Ark. So they just went around grabbing Ark components, and then they kept buying them to make this helmet.
Sounds about right.
I mean, again, they've been doing it the entire like war with Covenant material, so it's not like too far out of their wheelhouse of technology feats. I did have a few more. Maybe. Oh yes, I had to provide a source for what?
Oh, apparently Pimp Demon says you're still welcome.
Oh yes. Also, I just came from some reading of Star Wars High Republic era comic readings. Nice. I don't know what any of that is. Yeah, let me go get the source for Tanaka. So I did say that Tanaka is basically like an engineering genius. It is stated that she's basically she's the tech guru for Fireteam Osiris, and she's capable of operating. Hang on. She's capable of operating. There we go. Finally, why was that blurry as fuck? She can operate human, Covenant, and Forerunner device traps without the assistance of smart AI. So that in particular is very impressive for this scenario, because that means that she can basically tweak with anything in the field. Since AIs are often needed for humanity to be able to ascertain the functionality of any foreign object that isn't made by the UNSC. And she could do it without that. So that was just the source of that. No, I said rot as in what they are made out of. They're infested matter filled with toxins and rot. Ah, I see. Well, I'll have to go through not just the buried dagger, but also like the Siege of Terra to see like examples of what it is the Chaos Death Guard are made of before I can determine whether or not the Flood, before I can answer your question, to determine whether or not the Flood can actually infect them. Well, one is comics, the other means Star Wars, and the third means the era before Phantom Menace, and most of the characters before the movie are born, except for Yoda. Yeah, I could kind of like intuitively figure that out. I just meant like I didn't know what you were, you know, talking about specifically. I didn't know the stories.
But now you do.
Now, now I do. Now I've been enlightened, as they say. Let me close some of these windows that I don't need anymore. Yes. Yes, the synapses connection. So this is something that I wanted to talk about pretty earlier on. Let me go get a source for it. Aha.
Enough.
So the synapses connection, the synapses creatures, they don't really talk about this all that effectively or all that much, but they do mention that the larger, more intelligent Tyranid creatures act as like psychic conduits and nodule relays for which a portion of the iron will of the hive mind flows, overriding the natural instincts of the swarm and directing their actions. So the reason I brought this up was I was pointing out that like most of the Tyranid warriors are synapse creatures. So in the game, when you have the Tyranid, the big, or well, not Tyranid warriors, most Tyranid creatures in your most of their bioforms are synapses creatures. There are synapsis nodes in the form of bigger Tyranids like Neuranthropes, Zoranthropes, Carnifexes, but more primarily Tyranid warriors. Because in Space Marine 2, when you kill a Tyranid warrior, when you destroy like its skull or whatever, it causes a massive wave of psychic feedback that then bleeds out to all the other Tyranids around them, usually Terramagants and Hormagants. And you see like green little like stimuli break out of their skull, out of the skulls of the smaller Tyranids, which indicates that their skulls are being shattered from the shockwave of the psychic feedback. And the ones that don't basically are sent rampant. It's like basically think of it like a person is turning on a computer, and then when you're trying to perform functions in the computer, someone sticks their hand inside of the rig and starts disabling nodes that lead to programs that you have. So the programs just don't work anymore because I've just disabled your computer's connection to the functional parts of like I don't know, it's like its own processing power. That's essentially what happens when you kill like a Tyranid warrior. At least for the basic Tyranids.
I see.
It's actually an infection story, funny enough. Oh. Can the Flood infect the Flood? That's a good question. Find out next time after I've read Empty Throne. I'm eating gummy Lego bricks. That doesn't sound very healthy.
But they're gummy. And they're Legos. What could be healthier?
I could think of a few million things. Possibly. Additionally, I think I have a few more scans that I can show before we're done here. Yes. And explain what a lictor is. I mean, I kind of already did explain this earlier, but I can go into a little bit more detail because I have some direct scans that show what I'm talking about. So, on the lictor descriptions in the Codex, they do mention that. Whoa.
You okay? Oh.
Not like the thing's blurry. Hang on. There we go.
That's not your issue. Hang on. Alright, so it should be fixed for now, but yeah, that was on my end. My PC starting to overheat for some reason. That's weird. For my laptop anyway.
No, it might be the distance. Yeah. So what was it? Yeah. So they're basically. It says they're able to move swiftly and without life. They're able to move swiftly and without sound, even through the densest terrain, and concealed by a chameleonic carapace that renders all but invisible to the naked eye. Electric can remain hidden until it chooses to strike, waits motionless for days, unnoticed by its victims, an unseen herald of approaching disaster. Um, there are some other examples. Some of this. Let me see if I can get this. So, saying they move without sound, they move swiftly, not entirely without sound. There are examples of them getting detected by people just by like being near their position. It's just that a lictor will never go to where people are located. They'll always stay on the outskirts of that position, and they'll move very slowly. They'll also jump to places in villages and locations and population centers that are unoccupied so that they can observe the terrain and scout out how best to attack it and report this back to the hive mind. Let me see if I can find it. Ah, here we go. Yeah, so this is a good example of what I'm talking about here. So basically mentions that its flesh rippled a silvery gray as its chameleonic scales mirrored the surfaces around it with a still surprising for a large creature. It slipped away from its shelter. Its reserves of fatty tissue were low, and it would need to kill again in order to replenish them. The freezing temperatures of Taurus Ultra almost too much, even for its fearsome adaptive qualities to cope with. And then it mentions that this is later like a lictor, but I also wanted to showcase that like each of even things like the lictors have a set amount of energy source, like a set energy source that is given to them from the greater Gestalt hive mind. Because when they consume things from worlds, they have a set amount of biomass and a set like a finite resource of this, even though they have so much of it. So every Tyranid is only apportioned a set amount of energy that they can use, and the only way to get more energy is to either return to the hive mind and be resupplied, which doesn't really happen unless the Tyranid considers that unit to be indispensable, which is often not the case unless it's like a hive tyrant. Not even lictors are considered indispensable. So really the only way that you're recovering any sort of like energy is if you eat people. Or if you consume other like Tyranid life forms. So yeah, that's that one. It does mention in the novel as well that it on occasion it encountered prey and killed them to bolster its energy reserves before moving onwards. And it uses heat and pheromone signatures to detect people as well. Momenticin bias joining the flood wasn't healthy, but he still did it. That wasn't really like his choice. But bold of you to assume anyone ever joining the flood did so because they were like, man, this is the logical, rational decision to make. Totally not being manipulated in any way at all. Oh, yes. Yeah, so the last one of the last ones I wanted to talk about was the revive mechanic. Basically, when I mentioned the Spartans going down in the scenario, I wanted to point out that when Spartans drop to their knees and they're getting revived, as of I think the Mark 6 exoskeletons, they can now fall into a state where their armor completely locks up and you basically can't penetrate them, but the Spartan can't move either. So the only thing that can break them out of this armor lock is obviously members of their fire team. And when they do this, it sort of resuscitates the Spartan. There's other types of technology in the UNSC that can do this as well. In the Halo Encyclopedia, as well as the Halo 5 guide I showed there. Obviously, the drop shield is one of these things. It has power regenerating technology within the bubble that offers soldiers the ability to resist or to reset and recharge the armor's standard shield technology while inside, which then allows them to move again. So generally, like if you try to down a Spartan, you can down them, but like once you down them and the armor locks up, unless you have like attacks that are stronger than, I don't know, like multi-city block level artillery, you're not gonna penetrate that armor because the armor lock is many, 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 many times above what the standard Spartan's durability of the Mjolnir armor and the energy shields are. Mingle, it's called the logic plague for a reason, Lamau. It's not called the manipulation plague, silly. Oh, yes. Because if someone could plague logic itself, that totally wouldn't be coercive at all. Well, why didn't I think of that? Shame on me. Oh yeah, there's a protagonist swap out. I've forgotten about it. You literally watched it, so I don't know how you forgot about it. We're almost done with the sources here, so we're probably gonna wrap this up in a little bit. I was gonna provide a source for the Carnifex moving a 4-ton adamantium door, and then this is my favorite one. Locke being the apex of humanity is what I said. He's actually said to be the apex of the next generation of human soldiers. So Zim claims I never had the source. Here's the source. Hang on one sec. Let me read it. As an experienced combat technician and a brilliant criminal investigator in many ways, Jameson Locke represents the apex of humanity's next generation of soldiers. His placement as the leader of the highly skilled fire team Osiris was an obvious one, having masterfully led an elite Oni investigation team for years, quietly eliminating several of humanity's greatest threats lurking in the shadows. Locke's unique talents and matchless tracking expertise were, however, thoroughly tested in 2552 when Osiris was dispatched to hunt down Legendary Master Chief. This fatal operation led to the revelation of a maverick AI attempting to consolidate galaxy-spanning power through Forerunner technology. So, yes, he is considered the apex of humanity's next generation of soldiers. His tracking tech is considered unmatched. He's a brilliant criminal investigator. I don't know. These seem like pretty good statements. Seem like pretty good statements, then.
See on Infinity, huh? Where was he when Atriox,
Well,
the biggest threat outside of the Covenant, was just chilling the fuck out? Oh yeah,
probably the same
nowhere.
place. Probably the same place all the other Spartan fours were. They were removed from the plot.
Also, greatest threat to humanity? What the fuck was Locke dealing with? The occasional fucking insurrection? Bro, fuck out of
Um,
here.
no, he was dealing with remnants. Well, not remnants. Literally, entire factions of the Storm Covenant.
Okay, so
I think there's
literally not a
examples of
threat.
him.
Okay, so literally not a threat. Understood.
Storm Covenant is like one of the greater threats outside of the Banished. They're just the Covenant,
Uh-huh.
except even more fanatic.
So they splintered off Covenant. Okay, so not a threat. Understood.
Bro,
I'm sorry.
humanity doesn't even have like that much industry left. If the Covenant decided to come flying towards, do you not understand that the whole point of the Covenant Civil War was to keep the Covenant factions on St. Helios, especially the elite ones, focusing all of their war effort in the St. Heli systems so that they wouldn't fight humanity? They were not convinced they could go a second round with the rest of the remnants of the Covenant, even a splinter faction. They never fought the Storm Covenant at full power, ever.
Yeah,
They only ever fought them
the
like
Storm Covenant would've
individually.
lost.
No, because what?
Because the Storm Covenant would have lost.
No, the humanity would have lost.
No.
I mean, maybe not infinity, but
I was gonna
most
say,
of
what, are you
humanity's
not
fleets.
repping Infinity anymore all of a sudden? Did
No,
Infinity
no,
change?
no. I just consider infinity to be above what humanity has to offer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize Infinity was its own faction. My apologies. Let me just go ahead and
Affinity
put that in
basically is
disclaimer.
its own faction. Like, if you want to tell the Infinity to go do something and they don't want to do it, what are you going to do? Stop them?
All I'm
I mean, like,
saying is that the Storm Covenant by the events of Halo 4 would be a non-threat to humanity. Worst case scenario, they glass a planet or two.
no, you understand the Covenant has like tens of thousands of solar systems, right? They have like orders of magnitudes worth of troops and resources. The only reason you're not dying is because they're fighting the swords of St. Helios and they're fighting the Banished
Well,
at the same time.
I was gonna just flat out say like, there's never a scenario where the Covenant goes full force on humanity because the Banished are right behind them. And after the Prophet's death, they probably understand how big of a threat Atriox is at that point.
Because he's over here motivating all of them to do his little what you call his Boy Scout joining.
Ah, yes, the Storm
Come
Covenant was
join
such
my
a big
boy band.
the Storm Covenant was such a big faction in Halo 5. Man, they sure look big next to the UNSC, Cortana, and Domain, and the Sword of St. Helios. The Storm Covenant, wow, what a threat. Hey, how am I supposed to take the Storm Covenant seriously if every time we see like fucking Osiris Squad just run at them, they murk like a whole fucking battalion with ease?
Well, that's
Like,
because they're
there's more
Spartans. I'm
yeah,
talking about like the average
there's more
soldier, not not
Spartans.
not the
There's more
Spartans.
there's more Spartans now. They can make them like easier now.
I know, I know. I'm just saying that like you guys are giving me some unfair examples. Like you're not like, oh well,
Give me the
humanity's
examples
like
we're
gonna be able
given.
to. Humanity can't stand up to them, or not humanity can't stand up to them. Humanity could easily cream them. Me looking at the Storm Covenant during Halo 5, getting slapped sideways by 4 factions at the same time when their leader is dead. Yeah, there's totally not a reason they're losing.
But they're only losing because of a fucking. They're only still there because of a fucking numbers game. But their soldiers are fucking ass, and the UNSC has a better ship now.
Their soldiers are not ass. They're
Their
all
soldiers are
everyone
dog
in
shit,
this everyone that's in this conflict still is a post-war soldier. None of them are anything less than a veteran.
bro. Half of the Covenant forces were trash before the war ended.
Not even true.
Uh huh. Uh huh. Cope harder.
Humanity was just had better soldiers. They just never had level ground.
Humanity had better soldiers, and they made better soldiers. That's crazy, bro. What's the Storm Covenant gonna do? Fucking soak up bullets? You know what? You know what? Maybe the Storm Covenant will win because fucking Spartan's trigger fingers are gonna start getting cramped.
Well, to be fair, like I said, most of the UNSC weapons could effectively penetrate shields at the beginning of the war. By the end of the war, that changed, and they were on more level ground. If that had always been the case, humanity probably would have won most ground conflicts all the time,
Yeah,
and then would have just gotten glassed.
and then with Infinity, they would have won the space conflicts. At least where
Yeah,
they're
well, so they would have won anything that was like small scale, like 10 to 15 units at a time, which that would have given them enough time to build more super carriers, and then eventually they would have been able to start having large
yes.
fleet-based battles.
That's why the Storm Covenant, like, I understand they're still technically a threat via fucking numbers, but they're not really a threat anymore. So what's Locke going after? It can't be Storm Covenant leaders unless that's
Well,
all.
many of the things that they did, since he's like part of Oni, many of the things that they did were more so in the shadows work. So you have to kind of watch Nightfall to know what I'm talking about. In Nightfall, the Storm Covenant engineers a virus that's basically capable of just, I don't know, target. It's like a human bred virus, so it just like goes through the veins and the bodies of like it's a bomb that this elite like releases in this city, and it just infects like all the humans in the city and only kills the humans specifically, and they have to find a way to basically take out the source of where they're getting this energy from, and then they discover later that it's actually taken from a piece of the Alpha Shard from Halo, from the original Halo 1 thing, because the Storm Covenant found this, scavenged some material from it, and then somehow converted it into a viral agent that they then put into a bomb that they then released into a city to kill humans. So they had to destroy the Alpha Shard in order to prevent them from turning into a weapon again. Because it was basically stated to be like a flawless weapon. Like they didn't have a cure for it. They could not save humans from it. It was like a perfect viral agent. Well, at least one that's designed to be killing. Like technically, you could argue the Flood is the perfect viral agent. Let's be honest, Mangler, if humanity marshaled all its forces, they should be able to wipe out the Banished. No, the Banished is confirmed to have a galactic presence. They're literally at this point near the size of the full Covenant, and they are all over the galaxy. They also are like significantly more intelligent than the standard Covenant, and they have like bleeding edge Forerunner tech. So they're not humanity. Humanity is not beating them in like a fair fight. That's why most of the times they fight them, they're usually using Spartans, and they're also using swords of St. Helios teams
Yeah, and yet those fucking
because they
people
need all the
can't.
help they can get.
And yet those people apparently can't do shit either, because Atriox, I guess, is just stronger than your average brute.
I'd say stronger than like your strongest chieftains at this point.
Well, yeah, because he literally fucking ragdolls Master Chief like it's fucking nothing. Even if like normal brutes are stronger than him, Chief's used to fighting brutes, but like Atriox just fucking tears his shit apart.
Ah, yes, the Storm Covenant was such a big factor in Halo 5. Man, oh, wait, no, I already read this one. Hang on, I think I had one
I'm just
more.
saying, Locke does not do anywhere near enough to justify these statements, and he fails in his own game. And
I completely disagree.
he also doesn't even make it to Infinity to help out. You want to know how nice it would have been to have backup? Oh wait, there isn't, because Locke apparently is fucking worthless, and I guess he
So,
died
it
somewhere.
still scales to Master Chief, regardless of how you feel. He kills
Still,
like hundreds, thousands of Forerunner
uh-huh,
Armigers,
uh-huh,
runs through the Storm Covenant like
uh-huh.
they're made of paper.
That's not an achievement, Mangler. Any Spartan can do that. I need you to stop with this lock dick writing. It's not healthy.
I need you to stop with like the cheated writing.
Bruh, I'm sorry that Master Chief actually has the fucking feats and the fucking showings to
What?
demonstrate why he's
What
top
are you
dog.
talking about? Like most of his feats with like Mark 6 are against people that scale way below him.
I don't want to hear this when Chief literally goes through space to drop a bomb on the Covenant that they threw onto their ship. What did Locke do? Oh right, die.
That wasn't impressive. All he had to do was push it.
That's
It's not like
crazy.
okay, if he
That's
tanked the bomb, I could understand the wank. But like he just pushed it. He's like, "Oh, just have your bomb back." Because
Mangler.
the Covenant didn't discover how like basic gravity works.
Are you really
Apparently,
gonna wank the Storm Covenant when it only lasted a year longer than the fucking annoying Orange?
I believe the Storm Covenant lasts like how long did Knowing Orange last? What was it like 5 years?
I think 15 years. I think the annoying Orange lasted around like 14 years, I believe.
No, no, the Annoying Orange lasted way longer than the Storm Covenant. But
Mm,
that's not really like a fair argument,
I'm
considering the Storm Covenant, by their very nature, is literally built off of like a dying economy.
I'm
That was
just
the whole
saying.
point of the Kilo 5 books, was to explain how like the elites and their economy requires they require the war economy now because the profits basically convince them to stop farming and doing like most of the things that St. Healy needs to be an independent like nation. And as a result, they're now reliant on
How is there
shipcraft.
even an economy in the well? There's an economy in the Covenant that makes sense, but how is there a failing economy in the Storm Covenant if the Storm Covenant is still the Covenant? How do you have a failing economy at that point?
Because it's the Storm Covenant is mainly managed by elites. It's not a failing economy for the Jackals or for the Grunts. It's for the Sangheili, and they run the Storm Covenant because most of the Sangheili males can't farm anymore. They don't know how to develop technology. They could learn. They're just not going to because entire generations of them have just been made to fight humanity and to pilot ships and be shipmasters and blade masters. This is explained in Glasslands that they basically fucked themselves when they relied on the profits because they spent all of this time and this money and these resources and these lives fighting humanity and consolidating their entire industry towards shipcraft,
All
which
right.
was fine for the Jackals because the Jackals have always been that way, and that's fine
Mhm.
for the Brutes because the Brutes always love war, and that's fine for the Grunts because they just love living, so they're happy with anything and they don't question anything. But that's not okay for the elites because they actually could do other things other than war.
Apparently not.
Excuses, man. Yes,
Yep, no, could you
whatever.
Man would be the kind of guy that'd be like, bro, Locke would survive Halo 1.
Yeah, he would, dude. He'd steamroll them. He has literally better armor, better weapons, better scaling.
That's
Fuck those people.
crazy. That's crazy. Lot. That's crazy, bro. That's crazy.
And you'd be the kind of guy that would say that like Rookie would survive fucking Halo 1.
Rookie would. As long as there's no chair, Rookie would absolutely survive Halo 1.
What do you mean no chair? What does that mean?
Listen. Every character has a weakness, unfortunately, and rookies happen to
Why
be tied to
is
the chair
why is the chair his weakness and not like I don't know a bullet to the head?
because the bullet only hit him because he was tied up to the chair.
He was not tied to a chair.
He
That's
was.
that's wrong. Oh, okay, so I don't know. No, I don't know where the community got the position that Rookie was tied to a chair and tortured. He was just in a hostage situation.
Tied to a
That
chair. Understood.
no, there was no chair. There wasn't a chair involved
You
at all.
you blocked it out of your mind. Your brain cannot comprehend the sentence
I
Rookie
read
tied
the
to the chair.
novel. I bought it.
Your mind blanks out because you can't understand what it means to have a
Bro,
fucking
I'm gonna
voice.
debunk that misconception so hard when I make there is no chair. I'm gonna
Man,
make like a full fucking misconception on that whole section. Like all you guys talking about Rookie's death. You're not even Rookie fans. You didn't even read the novel. Frauds.
that's because I'm broke, Mangler. Man, for a species trained for fighting,
Okay.
they sure acted like beta cucks when the brutes became the guards for the prophets.
I mean, to be fair, half of that was because they were getting genocided, so I think that's a fair complaint.
Now, the elite's problem is that they're not able to properly adapt to situations. They're always stuck with an old mindset that they can't. If the mindset doesn't push forward, they don't really push forward.
They're very conservative in a lot of their thinking. They refuse to like move forward with decisions. That's kind of why they need people like the Arbiter. Because the Arbiter is like an example of an elite that is just like, hey, why don't we do these smart things because they're effective? And then the rest of the elite Kadons are like, okay, that sounds pragmatic, but like, what if we don't? And the elites and the Arbiter's like, why not? Like, you haven't provided a compelling argument. It's like, I know, and I
No, you
won't.
just don't. But yes.
The Arbiter's like, this is what I have to put up with.
Well, the mighty Infinity was felled. Master Chief, Mangler, you have more important misconceptions to cover, like Chakra, God of War, Azura, and DBZ. You still have beef with Chakra? What the fuck's a Chakra? Is that Naruto? You got beef with Naruto still?
Yeah, no, I had to. So I was just talking about misconceptions in Halo when I would make Halo videos. He's talking about general misconception videos in general. Like I'm not referring to that. Anyway, I have one more set of scans that I have to cover. So I was actually going to provide a statement about. I didn't necessarily claim this, but I thought you guys might find it interesting. And there are some statements about how the Tyranids basically assimilate material into their species. That they are the first bioeugenic species. That they're able to assimilate entire worlds and races, break them down to their constituent genetic building blocks, and incorporate said constituents into their own physiology. They do explain this a little bit more in like more detail later, but just just a direct state. There are direct statements for it outside the codex. If you guys want those, I have those. Probably not all of them. Just saying, like some of the stuff that the Tyranids can do is actually impressive because they can break you down. I think at least to the cellular level, potentially the well, actually no, it should be the molecular level because they can break you down to your raw genetics. Let me get rid of this one. Hang on. Here we are. So I mentioned that the Carnifex was basically like a 4-ton dude, or rather, not the 4-ton dude. That he could break through a 4-ton door of adamantium because Uriel Ventress and one of his Space Marine friends basically have to strain to pull down this door that weighs over 4 tons. They pull it down, and then they're like, "Oh, the door is not going to hold for long." And then afterwards, like a page or so later, the door basically gets ripped open by the Carnifex. So the Carnifex does have feats of ripping things over 4 tons. That's why I mentioned that in the scenario they could be a threat to the Spartans, because the Spartans in that situation had the scale of the Space Marines. So they were only as durable as Space Marines. which meant that their shields could only resist things probably marginally higher than a ton or metric tons worth of force, and their armor would only be equivalent to like a ton or slightly higher than the metric tons worth of force. So something from a Carnifex would actually be very lethal to them. But I just argued that they would never really get hit by it, except when they get except in the unfortunate events where they get like kind of sideswiped, and then they would just get put into armor lock.
We're doing good, Aviator. Okay, so I know this is a completely random, but I was looking at the trailer for the new expansion for Space Marine 2, and I saw a guy in the multiplayer match having a shield that is one direction. I think he had an Iron Halo on, and I just died
Yes.
inside looking at that.
Yeah, like I was like, man, I hope when Zim, if he eventually buys Space Marine 2, he doesn't play the heavy, so that doesn't just further depress him about the nature of the Iron Halo. Because that's literally their signature ability is an Iron Halo. And I thought it was going to be omnidirectional. When it was unidirectional, I was like, why is this shield only one way? And why can I just pass through it?
Let's see them go against the infested/infestation, whatever that is.
I don't know what the heck that is. Bangler, if 1 in a billionth is smarter than the species, kind of sucks. I feel like you probably could have worded that a little bit better. We're discussing 40k. We're discussing the scans I used in a protagonist swap involving Halo 5 characters in Space Marine 2. So technically, yes, we're discussing 40k because I have to discuss 40k scans. I just got through explaining stuff from the Tyranids. So the rest of the scans and claims I made were primarily just about like Halo Souls and the warp. But I've already explained how the warp works and what properties it's made out of, as well as like what Halo Souls are made out of at the previous protagonist swap. So if you want those, they should be in protagonist swap number 2, I believe. No, the protagonist swap scan number 2. 8 hours video. Let's go.
No, I go to work today, so no.
No, like we haven't even been here like we haven't been here an hour.
Not yet, no.
Not even an hour yet.
I actually heard that people think that the librarian gave chief resistance to the didactic telekinesis. Boy, that sure is true. Wink, wink. That's not their fault though. That's just what the game basically fucking tells you. Because Halo.
That's not. No, at all. No, you're wrong. So she directly says it gives you resistance to the composer, not to the telekinesis. The game explains to you what it is.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Chief never gets affected by telekinesis again after that. I don't think.
No, he does. He does. The Didact literally lifts him up in the final battle and threatens to throw him off the energy bridge.
Nope, that was with his hands.
No, bro, it happens in the final battle. He's using the Force.
Nope, don't recall. Actually, I don't even remember. Actually, all I remember from that final battle is a bunch of Cortanas just swarming him. I don't even remember if there was an actual fight. I think you just get knocked around, don't you? You don't even fight him.
Of course. Mainly, if it's only a 1 in a billion saying Heelys are smarter than the species, they're smarter than the species sucks. That's not like an intelligence thing. It's more of like a cultural thing. Also, billions of Sangheelys fought for the Arbiter, so you would have to argue that a significant portion of the population is still smart. Just a bunch of them are kind of like stubborn.
Are you sure they're smart, or are they just following the Arbiter because the Arbiter is the Arbiter?
I mean, they still believe in the same positions that he does.
Do they
like so the difference between the Swords of St. Helios and the Storm Covenant is the Swords of St. Helios know that the Forerunners are not gods, and they're aware of their place in the universe, and they want to learn more about it. The Storm Covenant explicitly believes that is untrue, and they're like, yeah, okay, so the prophets were like liars. Big whoop. That doesn't make the Forerunners not gods.
I mean,
they're just Copers.
I mean, to be as fair as possible here, with everything the Forerunners can do and have done, I don't think the
Oh,
Stormtroopers
okay.
are that.
Listen. It depends on how you want to define a god. If you define a god as random bullshit that I can't understand, then basically everything that's sufficiently more advanced than you is a god.
I don't know, Mangler. I don't know. Can the species rewrite and create universes with the greatest of ease? Yes, I think they've earned the title of God then.
It doesn't count if you're doing it with technology.
What the
I mean,
fuck
yes, it
is
still counts.
this shit?
It still counts. It's just less. I don't know.
Mangler, if a Necron can rewrite reality, but because he's made of technology, it's no longer valid.
I'll just use the Emperor of Mankind approach. What difference does it make if something is called the name of a demon or not? Does it matter? Is being a god just being mighty?
Wow.
Unironically, that was basically his argument. It's just like what is a god? Like, how do you define a god?
I don't know. Can you rewrite the universe? Yeah. All right. Then I think we're settled here. There's this difference between being smart and being dumb
Well,
enough to talk to
his
someone charismatic.
position is that it is like you can't define it because it's semantic. It has no objective like real definition beyond just being beyond your understanding
I don't want to hear this from the
or being
guy
like a
who's
thing that can effectively.
I don't want to hear this from the guy who's stuck on a chair all day
Well, go
being
ahead.
fucking fed psychers for a living. You know what? Maybe he should have fucking not let Horus fucking damage him. I don't want to hear it from him.
To be fair, he said that before he got on the chair.
Well, maybe he shouldn't have gone on the chair to
That
begin
was what
with.
he said in the Master of Mankind.
Maybe
Oh
humanity
yeah,
was
skill
meant
issue
to
for sure.
be. I mean, it was it not? Horus was there fucking attacking him, and he just took it basically.
Yes. Well, either way, I think we're done at this point. I have provided all the scans. If you guys want any more information, as always, in the Discord, just ask me or ask on any of the streams or ask them the question or relay the question back to me and I will answer it. There are multiple ways to reach me about this. Either way, we're done here. After we're done with this stream, I'm going to go talk in the voice chats about the Worm and novels I read, if you guys are interested in that. Zimmy, got anything else you want to say? Or are we done here?
Uh, I think for now, protagonist swaps are done for the time being until we end up deciding on the next ones. Because I know some people were asking about that. I did release the new book. It is in the promo chat. I know you guys aren't going to read it, but I'm just going to say it anyways for the live stream.
Nice.
And that should hopefully get normal videos up and running now that I don't have that going on behind the scenes. A lot of issues behind there. So hopefully, a few book reviews and some other stuff will be coming out this month. And yeah, that should be about it.
Yes.
Thank you guys for your time as always. Have a nice day. I'll see you guys on the next streamer video. Take care, everybody.